Welcome back to the course. In this video, we're going to finish off our enemy by making him deal damage to the player when they collide. Let's first of all go to the player script. We need to create a public integer variable called health that will store the health of the player, and we'll be able to choose whatever value we want inside of the Unity Inspector because we are using, again, the awesome keyword public. Let's also create a public void function called takeDamage that will take in as an argument an integer called damageAmount. We're making this function public because we're going to call this function from within the enemy script, and so it needs to be public so that we can access the function within that script. We are using the void keyword because this function is not going to be returning anything. It's just going to apply damage to the player. In this function, we will simply decrement the player's health by the damageAmount parameter. Once the damage has been applied, we will create an if statement that will check if the player's health is less than or equal to 0. In other words, if the player is dead. If he is, then we want to destroy the player. We want to remove him from our game. I want you to pause the video here and to research how you can do that. Once you're done, we will be back with the answer. Okay, so the way to do so is very simple. We just need to use the destroy function, and inside of the parentheses, we need to specify what game object do we want to destroy. In this case, we will just type in game object, which refers to the game object that has this script here attached to it. In other words, the player. Okay, that's all for the takeDamage function. The very last step that we need to do is to call the takeDamage function from within the enemy script. This brings up a very important subject and something that we need to do very often when creating games, which is to access from one script the variables and functions from another script. In this case, the enemy needs to access the player script to be able to call the takeDamage function. To do so, we need to create a variable where the type of the variable is the same as the script that we need to access. So in this case, the name of the script that we need to access is the player script. So we'll make a variable of type player, and then we'll call it something like player script. Then inside the start function, we need to set the player script variable to be equal to GameObject.findGameObject with tag, and inside the parentheses, we will type in the player tag, of course. So for now, we're just finding the game object in our game that has the player tag attached to it. Now, we'll add .getComponents, and inside the edge brackets, we will type in player to select the actual player script that is attached to the game object that has the tag of player. Okay, so to recap, we are creating a variable of the same type as the name of the script we are trying to access. So in this case, the player script. Then we need to first of all find the player game object in our game by using the player tag. And once you have found the player object, we are selecting specifically the player script that is attached on him. Okay, so now that we have found the player script, we will simply replace our simple print line with playerscript.takeDamage. And inside of the parentheses, we need to choose how much damage do we want to apply to the player. Let's go up to the top and let's create a public integer variable called damage. We will pass in that variable into the takeDamage function so that we can tweak the damage of our enemy inside of the Unity Inspector. Okay, make sure both the player script and the enemy script have been saved, and now let's jump back to Unity. I'll select the player and choose 3 health, and for the enemy I'll choose 1 damage. Just to test it out, I'll duplicate twice more our enemy by pressing Ctrl D or Command D if you're on a Mac, and I will make sure to place all 3 enemies right on top of the player. If we now press the play button, you should see that once all 3 enemies have touched the player should be dead because he took 3 damage, and he only has 3 health. Perfect, this marks the end of this video. Again, we'll continue to say it, but even if you just understood one little thing from this video, it is already really amazing. If you were just able to make everything work, that's amazing too, guys. Just keep at it. Anyways, that's all for now. Cheers.